What's going on, everybody? I want to say shout out to my mom's working overtime. My dad's putting in power. We're back with Meetings of the Mind. Tonight we got Areeba, the First Lady, in the building to talk about something that's going to blow your mind. I'm sitting here with Paula P., who's going to be the biggest.
What, you a rap star now, bro?
Superstar of all time.
Not tonight.
Go ahead, P. Let me tell y'all something. This lady is artistic. She's been sending designs. We're going to start a show. It's called Designs by P.
Bro, you telling my business, dog?
Because I put it out there in the environment. Because what is the station of the motto? Our world, our way. Excitement Radio. Call in at 305-749-6004 to talk to P. And next show is going to be P's Designs. It's going to be brought to you by P's Designs. But I'm just saying, I'm putting your business out there because you got to put it out there. Aren't you the one that tells me, Hickman, manifest your dreams.
Okay, lay off me, bro. Lay off me.
That's it.
lay off me.
So go ahead. So tonight we got Areeba Johnson in. Areeba, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm doing good. I don't hear nothing. Can I just? Yeah. I'm doing good. Good evening. How y'all doing?
I can't complain.
Can't complain.
So we're gonna let Areeba introduce herself tonight. Areeba, introduce yourself.
Sure. So let's see, where do I start? So I'm a clinical social worker. I've worked in the field of mental health for I don't know, like 15 plus years. So I started my own business called Therapeutic Strategies by Areeba last year. And I do public speaking on mental health, and I focus on faith-based organizations, churches, or anyone that just wants some training on mental health. I've worked many years with families and youth, children, especially with the youth. I did child counseling for about, for some years, for about 2 or 3 more years, 2 or 3 years. And so
that was it. It wasn't.
It was
longer than that.
It was longer.
Stop.
Okay, so I did.
Like, don't play, bro.
Okay, so I did. Wait.
She trying to break it down.
I know. I'm trying to like.
I'm trying. It's only 2 or 3 years. We know you longer than that.
I'm looking at you like, really,
bro? Really, bro?
Okay, so I did just primarily child therapist. I was a child therapist but I've always worked with children and families, but like just a child therapist. It was like 4 years.
It was 5+, dog. Seriously, like.
Okay.
I ain't gonna go through your time.
They know me better than I know me. Come on.
You know
yes, I've been working with kids for a long time.
Thank you. Just
definitely.
Talking about 2+ years. What?
That's what happened when you're in a different era in life, and But I've been working with kids for a minute, so.
So what's the name of your business again?
Therapeutic Strategies by Areeba.
And what do you do in your business? You gotta explain what it is.
So I said public speaking. So I do public speaking at, faith-based organizations, or if you want a workshop or, training, or just someone to come and educate your church or, your organization about mental health, and talk about depression and anxiety, your everyday struggles, and, really just educating and allowing people to understand about, what depression looks like, what trauma looks like, if you're dealing with trauma, how to help heal from it.
It's funny. Your shirt says Jesus in Therapy.
It does.
And one day we did, I don't know what show it was. Yes, we did.
Shout out to Desmond.
FCA. We were talking about therapy and and Jesus, like it goes hand in hand, because a lot of people, they do therapy. Therapy works, but a lot of people say, and I was just having a conversation today with my cousin. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like therapy. It really don't work." But you need both of them for it to be efficient. Yeah. And, you just have to walk with God, at the same time when you're doing therapy. So, yeah, that was a conversation today.
We got it. Speaking of that, we're going to connect. That's what we call connecting bridges. We're going to connect y'all together.
Okay.
Because FCA, if anybody misses, is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So what they do is they actually go into high schools And in addition to talking to male and female athletes about leading them to Christ, they also give them different principles like leadership and things like that. But they're trying to connect with more people in the community. So I think you and Desmond would be it'd be good for y'all to sit down and have lunch.
Yeah,
and
it would be a good
talk,
idea because what they're doing at FCA, they're encouraging the coaches to coach differently with more positivity instead of saying, you know, when you miss a play or you don't do it's a lot of negative comments because, you know, when you enter sports, that's what happens. So that's one of the things that they do. And I think when is our luncheon? The
Wednesday.
21st?
Yeah, this Wednesday.
Yeah, and I actually, you could give me your card and I'll give it to Desmond and William, and then you guys can go
if you
from
got
there.
time, slide through for a free lunch. You know?
Really, bro?
I don't tell everybody because you got to have a link first off. So I'm just saying, I'll put it out there. Shout out to Mr. Will Lust, my shirt, and
Bro, what
Shameless
what you doing, bro?
I had a little bit too much. I had Taco Bell before we got started, so I'm hyped up. I haven't seen Areeba in a long time. Anytime Areeba shows up, you know the show is gonna be lit. She has so much. But I'm excited about the fact you got your own business because you talked about that for a minute. Yeah. Give us an example of like what you've done in the community and like how you plan on impacting Broward County, Dade, West Palm Beach with what you're doing with your organization.
Sure. So I have spoken to different, churches on mental health during, mental health month is mental health awareness month is in May. So next month, y'all. And I've gone there and just educate them about trauma and depression and anxiety, what that looks like if they see it in someone else, what to do, how to seek services. A lot of times people say, I don't know where to go. I don't know how to I don't want to, I can't afford it. Or, there's just so many different excuses sometimes. And then there's such a stigma behind it. So trying to, eliminate that stigma and help people to understand if you seek help and stop suffering in silence, stop feeling like you need to deal with it by yourself, and especially for faith-based organizations. I'm a believer. We're all believers. So definitely, oftentimes in church, you just pray about it, just go to God, which is good. Prayer works. Don't get me wrong.
We're not downplaying it.
But it works together.
Right. So I really go and educate people about, if you understand, what the challenges are mentally, how to pray strategically. Prayer then becomes a weapon. Because if you know how to say, well, God, I'm dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, you can be specific and say, God, I need help in these areas versus just saying a vague or broad prayer, right? So just helping them to understand, and then more so helping them to understand their children. Because if you can help your youth to heal at a young age, then they won't grow up to be, dysfunctional with all these issues, that they're ignoring. And especially now during this time of this pandemic, even more so, you're going to see an increase in depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation. So definitely speaking in churches. I've also spoken a lot at, I've done some conferences for youth. So I've spoke on mental health and just emotions and feelings and what's, how to, identify your feelings and how to express your feelings. I did a conference with the ages of 5 to 12.
Wow.
Online. Wow. Yes. It was a virtual 2-hour conference that at first I was like, I don't know, 5 to 12 is young age, to keep their attention and to be, just to have them as a captivated audience. It's like, I don't know, that may be a struggle. But the, the person that I hooked up with and who did this event, she was so creative and just so artistic in how she presented it. She just had dances and games and things. I mean, to have over, I think it was maybe 50 or 60 kids on a call for 2 hours. They were listening. I know they was listening because on Zoom, you can scribble scrabble on the screen.
My son taught me.
Yes. They were scribble scrabbling all over my screen. So I know they was actually.
My 7-year-old taught me how to change my background.
I want to go back a little bit. And I don't do the celebrity talk that often. But with the suffering, I need to bring in DMX. Did you see the video when his sister spoke?
I didn't. I saw the one with his daughter though.
Yeah. So that right there, this is something that he's been dealing with. He's been suffering. He did the best, the best. I'm not sure if he had therapy or anything. I do know, I believe after every show, he did say a prayer, because some people even said, they went to a show, it touched them. But just imagine suffering all your life.
From age, I think it was 6, 7. And then he had a show where it was it Fix My Life, Ayana?
Mm-hmm.
His son and him actually had a conversation. And speaking of children, his oldest son, when the dichotomy of them is completely, they're different. Because DMX obviously grew up in the environment he did. His son did not. But you can see the different personalities. But his son kept saying, Dad, I'm hurt because of X, Y, and Z. And DMX is like, you got to understand the part I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. But as a therapist, and this is my opinion, Ayana really directed the conversation more toward about the things DMX did to his son. And you need to listen to your son's point. X was so hurt by the conversation that he left. And I don't know if him and his son ever got closure between that event. And it kind of like, it hurt me, because I'm sitting up there going like, after everything that happened, he's got 14 kids, but he played an integral part in all their life. And now they have to go through possible depression. And because that was the onset of what they had. Mm-hmm. But speaking of that, like if, let's just say, one of his kids was here and they're at one of your virtual conferences and they're talking to you about the death of their dad or depression, how do you handle that topic with a kid between the ages of 6 to like 14? Because that's the topic a lot of therapists don't go into with children, because it's a difficult area. It's a murky area.
It is. I actually, I personally don't deal with grief and loss, because that's not my specialty. So I always refer someone who that is their expertise. Okay. But when you have a youth who's dealing with grief and loss, allowing them to talk about it, being able to process what those feelings look like, living without that person, that's going to be, difficult. They always say, oh, you eventually get over it. No, you never get over it. You just have to learn to live without, right? So it's really helping that child to really process how they're feeling and what life is going to look like, and losing a father, losing a parent, helping them to kind of identify and process those feelings is really what it is, and allowing them to talk it out. Oftentimes, especially we think about cultures, and especially, and I don't know all of DMX's history and where he's from or whatnot, but I can think about even my culture, Caribbean culture. It's like, all right, you stay strong.
And you better bottle it up.
Yeah,
we're not talking about it.
Like, don't be cry. You should be good. Come on, strong, toughen up. How often we told, like, showing tears and emotions is vulnerability is weakness. And when we're told that, we try so hard to just act all hardcore, like, nah, we good. Like you cry a little bit at the funeral. It's probably the hardest time, and then you move on. But no, really sitting and addressing and knowing that there's no really time frame to how you really deal with grief and loss, to know that it can take one person time and you see them act one way and someone else can be completely different, that everybody's different. So allowing that person to normalize their feelings and emotions, talking about it, and, really telling them that, grief and loss is not easy. It's not, it's a process, right. That they have to, work through, and having a therapist to kind of, work through that and give you the safe space is always good.
One of the things that we always talk about on this show is mental health for adults. But we need to focus on the children, because these children are going to be adults one day.
That's the future.
That could possibly end up like a DMX and many others that suffer from being little. And I always say, be mindful of the name calling. Be mindful. You're going to be just like your daddy. You're going to be just like your mom. Like, you have to really be mindful, because number one, most kids, regardless of how their parents are, they still have that love. And if you're telling them, they know their mother or father fell short of some sort, because we adults bring it to the children's attention. Right. And if we're telling them, you're going to be like your mom and you're going to be like your dad, what we're doing is building up anger in the child against their parents that one day could possibly do a 360 turn. Not only that, we're making the child resent us for saying that to them. So now that the child has an issue with the parent, anger because you know they want the mom to be there, they want the dad to be there like any other parent. Now we're building up this resentment in these kids. Now they have two things going on.
Mhm.
I love my mama, but
Right.
and you know we have to be really careful of what we say. The name calling.
Mm-hmm.
That I know someone that's 40 that their father told them certain things when they were young,
Mm-hmm.
and that person still talks about it, and you could tell it's hurt.
Mhm.
But one thing is going against the person. He's a male. Male getting therapy means what? A couple of things. You weak and you crazy.
Mhm.
Suck it up and move on.
Mhm.
But that also reflects on how they treat women as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And how they react to certain situations.
It's always a lot of the youth I work with now, a lot of the males. I don't mean that it's mainly a lot of like low income. And when you go into the home, the father's not there, the mom's not there. One of the two. And the ones that is, they're working 2 or 3 jobs. So the kids outside figure is anybody in the environment. And obviously most of those environments, you already know what time it is. So what's unfortunate is you are taught to fight back. You are taught to fight the environment. I can think kids I know in Pompano right now, the Greens, Carver Homes, all you know is the fight. Because that is because you go in survival mode on a day-to-day basis. And unfortunately, for most males that are in that environment, that is the only way that systemically we've been taught we're going to make it. And if a therapist attempts to go into the home, it's almost like it's a double-jaded thing because you're there for one reason, and the kid's not really realizing that you're there to probably make some type of change. But what ends up happening is when they go back outside, sometimes it makes a difference and sometimes it doesn't because it depends on those outside influences. And going back to what you're saying, most males are not going to go to therapy. And unfortunately, we are taught to have, and it's a machismo thing. It took me probably, I'm 40 now. I let go of mine at the age of 30, 37. Because it's a guard you got. And I grew up in a 2-parent home. But at the end of the day, you're supposed to be this. This is your front. Don't let nobody see the cards behind you because you play with a poker face, regardless of what you're taught. And then you in turn teach that to your son. I can't tell you how many times going back to even Des's point and what Areeba's addressing, the dad will tell the kid, suck it up. You're a man. But now it's flipped. You tell the girl the same thing. Oh, no, go fight the girl over there. Go, because there's that incident happened in Jacksonville where the parents showed up. The girl fought the girl out in the parking lot. The parents are there cheering on. So now we got kids growing up who literally their parents in survival mode, so they're in survival mode. And I'm scared for the generation behind because the stuff that's in front of them, and a lot of them do have depression, anxiety, and it's crazy. Like, and I almost feel like a lot of us adults are just kind of bypassing it, saying you'll be okay, you'll make it. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it's gonna be a gap.
But you know what I think? I think the adults know that, not all, some adults know that their children are hurting, but if they address it, they don't want to address the fact that they could very well be the cause of it.
But you got to start somewhere, Pete. You got to.
No, but you do. But how many people are adults, especially like our parents' generation? How many of them, and we have the same family, Bahamian. How many of them would come to you and say, okay, I'm sorry? Not many. Not many. And you know it's true. Not many. They would talk around it, but they would never come out and say, I'm sorry. Well, I did what I had to do with an attitude. Right. That doesn't make it better. Right. Yes, you did what you had to do or what you knew how to do. Mm. But in the process, it affected me.
Yeah, that pride, and feeling proud. And it's hard sometimes to acknowledge you're wrong, especially, for parents who have kids and see kids as a possession. Like that's my child. So how I treat them is my business.
Yeah.
Right? Versus my child is hurting. Let me see if I'm contributing to that hurt. Because then that would have to, then cause them to, look within themselves and see that, oh man, I'm not good parent? You mean that I'm causing hurt and pain? That's a lot for parents to take.
Yeah, but it's
right?
not, it doesn't mean that you're not a good parent. It's just that you use the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know that there are other resources.
Right.
What you should do is, even with adult children, can you want to get through this with therapy, or tell me how can I help you with this?
Right, because if you know better, you do better, right?
Yeah, of course.
So if they seek out the help that they need, and maybe asking a therapist to help them with, some family counseling to identify and address some issues, maybe then, okay, I can respond differently versus what I know. A lot of parents do how they were brought up, right?
Because you go back to what you know.
Exactly. That's easy, right?
I'm not going to change, because my parents, I came out okay. No, you didn't. If I hear one more parent say, well, I came out okay. Did you really? Because your kids are still, you go back to that system. But I came out okay. Because you working, you got a job, you got a place, I guarantee you. But your kids are still hurting. Let me ask you this. In terms of the church, mental health, where are you having a difficulty bridging that gap, or is you finding it's just seamless?
So when oftentimes when it's a church where there is, an older generation, and older generation oftentimes see, behavior problems, or as that child they know what they're doing. They acting out, but they know what they're doing. They just need a good whooping. They need a good spanking versus trying to understand the feelings and emotions. Because when you talk about mental health, it's really trying to understand someone's emotional and mental well-being. So the older generation sometimes will kind of be like, y'all being too soft for these kids. That's why they're acting like that. Versus trying to understand that, these children has real life issues, that needs to be addressed differently, and plus understanding that how it was back, maybe 50, 60 years ago is different now. We have social media. You have so many different influences that's playing a role. So understanding that how you were brought up can't be the same for how you raise your child. Like, you have to be able to evolve somewhat. So sometimes there's a little pushback because, like I said, how they were brought up, especially that old school. Don't hit grandma.
Old school country.
Look, don't hit grandma with the. I remember speaking at a church one time and talking about parenting and talking about behavior problems, and I, used some of the nurturing parenting curriculum, which I taught for many years. And I remember grandma standing up like, "Nah, see, they need a good whooping. See what you talking about."
What you not gonna do, grandma?
And I had to break it down and explain to her. I said, if you really start to think of all that child is going through. And if you think about all the whoopings you gave, think about some child tell me how much that helped them. Did it cause them to fear you and don't do certain things in front of you versus understanding their emotions and their feelings? So I had to really break it down. And she sat back and she was like, you can see her face kind of like shift. But she was like,
let me tell you how brought up.
But they still need a good whooping. Like, she was like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but they still need a good whooping. And
I like to hear people when they say they need a whooping. I didn't turn out too bad, and you be looking at them like, okay, bro.
Right.
All right.
Right. And when I start talking about stuff like cutting and, kids cutting, and doing self-mutilation. Yes. People eyes open up and be like, oh, that's.
What you think the marks were? Like, I had to ask one mom, I said, she goes, I thought it was the game she's playing.
One parent said he thought the child was trying to get attention. I said, you do know that can lead to suicide like that if you hit the wrong area. Like, so the mindset of almost, ignoring it, the ignorance of, thinking that the child is doing it intentionally for just attention or the child versus trying to fully understand what your child is going through. So it's an interesting topic everywhere I go, honestly. I love the feedback and the questions because it kind of get me thinking, and then I sometimes got to dig down into my my bags and tricks.
That bag of Areeba tricks. You got them.
And I think about my different sessions and families that I work with and be like, wait, let me hit you with this though. Hold on, wait, come on, I'm gonna come back at you. So
somebody named Calvin said, keep him in your prayers because the devil is busy. And we will do that, Calvin. We pray. We don't know what you're going through, but we pray that
It
you
really
will
is.
overcome
Say
this,
Sean,
and I'm sure you
Yeah.
will. Just
Say
have
Sean,
faith.
say Sean,
Yeah, you have to just have faith.
say
It
Sean.
does get better. Sometimes, things happen, and it's all about timing.
Mhm.
Sometimes we want stuff right then, right now. But what happened is if we get it, we may not know what to do with it or make it longevity.
Right.
So what God does is prepares us
For that next level.
for that next level.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of things that I asked for. I got them, but I just didn't get them when I wanted them to. And when you think back about it, the things that you might have asked for, if you would have got it right then and there, you probably would have abused the fact. And sometimes God will give it to you, show you. You weren't ready for it. This is why it's taking so long.
It's progression. It's levels. Like Neil said, it's levels to this.
So I made a post, I believe it was Monday. It was my Monday morning post or Sunday. Faith and patience. It's hard because we're human and we start fretting and we worry like it's getting close to time. Whatever it is it going to get better? But just have faith and patience. That's basically what it is.
But can I also speak to Calvin that just as difficult it is, whatever you're going through and that the devil seems like he's attacking you, but just know that God is so much bigger. Like God is bigger than the enemy, And if you understand that and if you have a relationship or if you know God or get to know God, then you will know that he can heal and he can kind of deliver and help you through whatever it is you're going through. So definitely know that prayer works and we will definitely pray for you. But know that our God is so much bigger than the enemy. And if you know that, it'll help you to get through whatever the challenges you're going through.
What I always say, I don't even give the devil that much, really, bro. I don't even give the devil that much attention. Mm-hmm. So don't even say the devil is busy. Say, God, you take care of this situation. Right. And don't focus. Don't focus on it. You can't focus on the devil. Mm-hmm. Don't give him victory. Like, I really don't even like to say his name.
Right. Right, because if you're a child of God, the Bible, and like we going into like scripture now, but it is what it is, right?
Go ahead, first lady. Go ahead, first lady.
Look,
go ahead, first lady.
I am very single. Stop playing. But we're gonna go into scripture now because the Bible says that we have power to tread over serpents, and so we have the power to basically tell the enemy, nah, like. Or, we stump on his head, right? We bruise, his head, or he bruised our ankles. So we have the power to like really thread over to make sure that the enemy isn't attacking us that way. So you have the ability to speak over your own life and over your own situation and allow God to really just, intercede and interject for you. So Calvin, like I said, I'm praying for you, bro.
See, you already got a team behind you.
You
already got a team behind you.
When 2 or more come together, look, he's in the midst.
So let me ask you this. So on the phone with my wife today, she's working at a school. Mm-hmm. She says the kid's in the bathroom. Another kid walks in there, picks the kid up and says, "Give me your shoes." Proceeds to take the kid and slam the kid because the kid says no. So the kid falls, so on and so forth happens. But bullying. At what point do the parents need to talk to their kids? Because see, my thing is, it starts at home. And there's so many kids I know that literally, they go to school in fear. Like, I mean, you hear the stories about certain kids leaving school, running to school. And then I
want you to pause. It starts at home. Yes. We as parents need to educate our children. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have these teachers that need to be educated as well to question the situation, because kids tell fibs or whatever. But if I go to you, you're my teacher, and I'm saying Areeba is picking on me. Well, she just joking. You didn't even let me tell you what Areeba did, because the teachers are really overwhelmed. So every little complaint they really don't focus on. So what happened is the kid shuts down.
That's what happened.
And then when they go home, the mom sees a change in behavior. Well, what's going on? Nothing. You sure? And then it finally comes out. Well, I told Mr. So-and-so, and this is what he did. And then now it's like a war because the kid likes the teacher, but knows the mom is going to pop off. So it's a way that the parent has to approach it, and it's the way that the teacher should listen and question it.
So at what point though, and this is a question for both of y'all, how do we, I mean, you can't stop bullying, but like, I understand there's education programs, but it seems like, numbers wise, more kids are getting bullied now than when we came up. And I don't know if it has something to do with economics.
And the parents that are raising the bullies know their kids are bullies.
Right.
They know.
They
know their kids are bullies.
But I feel that like in Broward County schools, I mean, I ain't trying to put them on blast, but there's no guidance counselors in the schools anymore. They're like brace advisors. They're overwhelmed. These kids don't have anybody to talk to. And a lot of times teachers, you're right, they are overwhelmed. They're underpaid, and my heart goes out to them because they do the best they can. But a lot falls, like this follows these kids throughout life. I think back to the shooting that happened at Spelman Douglas. That happened a lot of these kids. When I read his track record, said the same thing: bullied, harassed, Columbine. These kids, it was the same. A lot of them have had.
But you know, okay, so certain law enforcement. If you ever talk to certain law enforcement officers, a lot of them are officers because they were bullied. Not all. Because a lot of them, enjoy it. But a lot of them, I was bullied. And that's their mentality to think, now I got a gun, I got power. Nobody can bully me. I'm the one that does the bullying.
I'm even going to take it to my sport, bodybuilding. There's a lot of bodybuilders you talk to who are very insecure. They started getting bigger. Most of the ones who were some of the top athletes were like, well, why'd you start working out? Because somebody was picking on me. It's not a love of the sport. It's because now they're growing.
They have strength.
They have strong. No, they have a lot of insecurities. I'm backstage a lot of times with these guys. They don't know how to have a conversation. And you start digging the backstory. It's like, well, this happened, but a lot of them were bullied the same thing.
Because if you see somebody tall and muscular, you just know they're going to knock the hell out.
You see the police officer with a gun, the badge,
So I think when you look at so many different industries, it can be even entertainment, a lot of times people, their talents and they go hard based off of the trauma they've gone through. Like songs, people write their songs because of trauma, so a lot of times you see different sports or entertainment, whatever, it's based off of whatever that child went through, whatever that person went through that kind of pushes and drives them.
Even with football, a lot of those guys, when they be doing those plays and you get to tackle somebody and you getting paid to do it.
I'll tell you something, it's one of the greatest feelings in the world. Bro. Coming across the middle and laying somebody out. Woo!
And you get paid to do it, and you ain't gonna go to jail or get a beat.
It's like being a professional wrestler.
Like boxing, the movie Creed, the whole thing based off of the trauma.
This whole thing. Rocky, if you think about it, disability. I didn't even think about that. Dang, Reed, see? She'd be coming in here just dropping. What a dropping bomb.
Look, I'm saying it's something that has to drive you, to go after some things. And a lot of times it's because you were bullied or, some trauma or whatever it is. But I do want to go back to what you said regarding the Broward County schools. So after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, Broward County did get a bunch of funds and money to put more mental health therapists inside the schools to be able to address that. The same thing with Miami. In Miami-Dade County, they have what they call mental health coordinators that go out to the school to see the kids, and if they, will see them for a few and assess where they're at, and if there's a need for intense counseling, then they'll refer them. So there's a lot of services out there.
But a lot of parents, what happened? I don't want you in that system. I don't want your name in that system. That's nothing is wrong with you. I don't want that to follow you. The stigma.
That was one of the biggest fears, actually, with the whole mental health counselor coming into the schools, because now they need to assess, do an intake assessment, and ask. They need to ask the history of the family, and parents don't want their business out there. So they're like, "Nah, you ain't gonna have the family history inside the child's chart, but to be used against them." That was one of the biggest issues that actually came up.
I remember I went to.
And then so we've been in schools before. You've been in our office. That's that boy that his daddy used to get drunk. They say it loud in the office. Don't know. Sometimes you may know the child if the child walked through the door, or you may not. And that is the fear of parents, because the people that are in the school system, they need to kind of bottle cap that.
But see, what I want is a person in the school. Like I remember I had Dr. George. She was our guidance counselor when I was in high school. She was there the entire time. She knew what was going on. So if we had an issue, I could go talk to her. I love the fact that Broward County schools and Dade County schools, they brought outside providers in. But now I'm looking at it from the welfare of the child. I just met you. By the time I open up to you, where is this going? You don't really know the incidents. That's why I like people. I want to have mental health therapists in the school. I get the funny part. But somebody's there 8 to 5, walking around, going through classes, teaching certain things, because outside providers, they're coming outside. They got to do the assessment. They got to go through the by side. By the time we get to that, some of these problems have already escalated to the point to where the parents they don't want to get involved. Because I remember I went to an interview and the lady told me the biggest problem they were having was not getting the kids into therapy. It was having the parents actually sign up for the paperwork, especially in our community.
But you know what? They need to build a stronger trust system for the parents. Walk them through you know how they had a PTA meetings? Mm-hmm. They need to have a
PTA meetings no more. I mean, everybody shows up for football and basketball games. But no, again, people don't go to PTA meetings. Trust me. You go to any of them games.
But what I'm saying, to find a way to educate the parents on, getting the child help and the longevity of it. I remember I saw on social media somewhere, I think it was a police officer, a kid was autistic and was having a bad day. The officer laid on the ground with the child and was talking, and the child said they had a bad day. Now, a lot of cases, what they do, grab the child out, ruffle them up. They have, just like when we come home and we don't want to talk and we slam the door, you don't think a child go through the same emotions. So just think, a child is handling their own issues. We come home with our issues. So now the child is handling their own issues. And then the child see mommy or daddy going through. Now the child is handling our issues too.
So that's the part where, I like to help with educating parents about, mental health and about the child, emotional and mental well-being and how they can help their child. And oftentimes parents would want a child to come to therapy, get fixed, and come home. They don't have to really do anything, right? But they don't understand that they play a very important role in that child's life. So, the same way that child is getting counseling, they have to be open to some parenting styles or skills that, can help improve the overall household. Because the child can act well in school and not at home. And parents not understand that, okay, whatever's going on in the home has to be
Johnny don't act like that at home. He's a church mouse. Which church Johnny go to?
You don't spend no time with Johnny.
But then that's the
Johnny
thing.
Playing Roblox.
Johnny may not be acting like that at home because Johnny on the video game and on YouTube all day. So he has something occupying him. But in school, he terrorizing because he don't have YouTube to keep his attention. So, while you may be at home and it could be, the house could be going through hell and whatever, Johnny in the room with a YouTube and headphones, but he's still internalizing whatever's going on. So it can be so many different reasons, and really just getting parents to understand the importance of really sitting and listening to your child. And and if sometimes it's hard for a parent to do that because they have so much going on, and sometimes they have to be the disciplinarian as well as the nurturer, depending on if it's a single parent household or however, sometimes it's hard for them to do that. So having someone to come and say, let's get counseling, and then not just doing individual but also family sessions, so then you can now talk to your child, vice versa, and you have like that mediator. So
I ain't telling that heifer what go on in our house. That ain't her.
That's a stigma right there.
No, but I'm saying that's what you do.
That's true, especially when we talk about certain cultures. We talk about the
You better not go in there and tell them your daddy came home cussing us out.
Then they be like,
they got that look.
Let me tell you. Then they tell a kid, if you tell them, they gonna come get you. They want them to take you out the house.
It's like
You want the people to come get you. You're gonna be in foster care. You ain't gonna get them Jordans you used to get.
And then when the kid finally gets comfortable and feel that it's okay. My mama told me, don't tell you, please don't tell her, but it bothers me. Like this is
But I think the problem I have, like family counseling, I love it, but people you have to almost be creative when you do family counseling.
You do.
And I think that's, as a therapist, you got to take all the tools out of the bag because you're working with so many dynamics, and then you got the kid who more than likely ain't gonna talk to you. The mom may not talk to you. Dad may not say something, but you always got that one person is gonna say something.
I'm gonna tell everything.
Everything.
This is what happened last week.
Grandma, boy, they be spilling the beans. They be looking at you.
But then, when I used to do family counseling, and I missed it at times because yes, I had to get really creative. I had to find different games to help them to open up, and sometimes and just little questions to pull from it, so you can try to get a conversation going. And even sometimes what they don't say, be like, okay, well, what did that body language or what did that show? And oftentimes just giving them, the sense of this is a safe space. Like, I know it's scary to open up and share your deepest thoughts and how you're feeling. That's a scary thing. And then on top of that, the fear of what I'm going to do with that information. So, always allowing them to know that it's confidential. However, if there's any abuse and neglect, I always got to give that disclosure. At the end of the day, I'm a mandated reporter. My job is on the line, but know that I'm here to help you. And so before it gets to that point, hopefully we can talk it out. But if I do know that you hitting and abusing and your child coming with a black eye, that's a whole different story. We gotta have.
See, you shouldn't have said no. They coming to get you tomorrow.
I'm gonna call in.
But before we get to that point, that's what we can talk about. Because if there's some anger things going on, let's talk about that. So it doesn't lead to anything physical, right? And that's the whole purpose. I tell them, I said, my job is to help keep child protective services out your home, not bring it in. So if you open up now and share what's going on, then we can prevent child protective services. I can tell you what they're going to come in and look for. So if you work on it now, we don't got to worry about them coming up.
It's the fear. It's the fear.
Because it's the fear of the unknown. Because everybody has a general idea about the system.
Yeah.
My kid got taken from this reason, but then go to the backstory. I still run into girls from SBA on a weekly basis, and then they always go back to a such and such. You remember her, Mr. Hickman, and her baby wasn't taken at the time. Why am I still? This is like let's stop talking about that. What you got to work on is X, Y, and Z, and it's still it sometimes it pains me because it's like you would think at this point they would have made some progression, but I also got to remember they're still suffering mental illness. But they still go back and say, well, I remember it was this, and then because the system, and then they tell another girl, and now this is how the rumors start. Why she got to keep her baby? Because I didn't do as much drugs as she did. She was out there. She used to work out there on 19th Street. And now they took all my kids. They took all her kids. Her baby daddy got one. I'm like, listen, that's not the point of this conversation.
Everybody is different. Every situation is different. And you have to remember the caseworker may be different. The judge may be different. The program that the person agreed to enroll in could be different. The time frame may be different. And then if you're habitual, if you keep coming back saying you're gonna get it right, that could be an issue too. That could be an issue too. So it's different factors.
I want to get your take on YouTube. Is that an effective tool for a parent to use to calm a kid down? And like,
what do you mean? Like, go watch YouTube. It's okay. Because I'm busy. I need to do this.
To calm them down when they're acting out, or just to have something to keep them busy?
I think it's busy. You mean busy?
Both.
If they're acting out and you give YouTube as a way to like a consequence, or because what you're doing is reinforcing whatever that behavior. If it's something that they like to do and you're giving it to them to kind of help calm down or to stop the negative behavior, it's going to reinforce that behavior. So now they know, they're going to learn that, okay, if I want to watch YouTube right now, let me do this, and my mom will give it to me to watch, right? Now, if you're using it as a means to kind of just keep them busy, and this goes back to
and
that.
Then you have to also ask, what material are they watching?
Right.
On YouTube?
See, that's
the big part right there. What they watch.
That's what we're going.
Because let me tell you, my 7-year-old niece, she has an iPad, but my brother has it locked or set up where it's only YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And she know YouTube Kids, you can't watch everything. But so when she come around,
she's like,
can I borrow your iPad? Because your iPad has the grown folks YouTube. Because the grown folk YouTube don't have all those,
some of the stuff they got for kids.
settings that restricts them from. So what are they watching? What are they watching on YouTube? Because not everything on YouTube is appropriate.
It's not. I remember Pac-Man was watching.
Even some of the games they playing.
I mean, we had one lady that said she felt like Roblox was influencing her kids' behavior because they were high functioning and autism. And she said she felt like her daughter one night was 8. She took the Roblox from her. She said, "You want to go fight? Come on, bro, let's fight right now." And she was shocked. She's like, "What's bruh mean?" She didn't know. But when I watched some of the stuff Pac-Man watches on YouTube, me and my wife were breaking down lyrics one night, and one of the guys, he's a famous YouTube singer. The lyric said, "You don't have to worry," because he was telling the kids to stop being depressed. He told the kids, "You don't have to worry about being depressed because you don't have a black name, so you'll be able to get a job." And we looked up the lyrics, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" So this is what kids are hearing. It's reinforced, and there's so many. I've seen Thomas the Train smoking, literally just lighting it up, just going down the choo-choo track. Like some of the stuff on YouTube, and it blows my mind because it's like it's an open space, it's an open platform. I get it, but parents got to monitor, and that's why I asked, because a lot of times I've seen parents like that literally that becomes an automatic defect. I'll put them on YouTube. It's not even making. It's just whatever's on there. And the algorithm it's crazy how the YouTube algorithm works. And the stuff that gets through, even on YouTube Kids, some of the stuff my 3-year-old has pulled up at times. I'm like, how did that get through the algorithm? Even though we got the safety locks on there, because when he's just clicking on stuff, YouTube would just pull stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not against it. I mean, because my kids watch it, but it's like some of the stuff they got on there, I'm like, I wish they would do a better job monitoring, but it's not, because a lot of stuff gets monetized.
I think you have to monitor everything, what they listen to, what games they're playing, what movies they're watching. Everything plays a role in how your child act or behave or see things. It influences them, so you have to be able to, that's why just completely allowing your child to have TV and YouTube, like watch them, babysit your kids so you don't have to deal with them, and then you get upset or you wonder where they learn certain things, where they're getting it from. What are they watching? Mm-hmm. So you have to be the person that's pouring into your child more than anything else, Yeah. I used to tell, during family sessions, families all the time, okay, let's put away the TV. Let's go back to the old school. I don't know about y'all, but in my household, there was Friday night, we had to do family night. Sunday was no friends, no.
Saturday we all cleaning. That's the island. That's the island. That's the island. See, I know that. Saturday we get up and clean.
Saturday was music day to music, and Sunday was church day. Now, for those who are not believers, hey, to each his own. But I'm just saying, go back to like spending time. And during this time of the pandemic,
because Sunday was church day, but it was almost always family day.
Yes,
nobody couldn't come over. We
get calls.
Yeah,
had to sit at the dinner table and eat. It wasn't none of that phone and all that. Like, go back to some of the. So for them old school, parents who against all of this, okay, those certain things you can bring back from the old school. That is one of them.
It's still integral, man. And I think that's the thing I learned from the pandemic is like, I was so busy working that I was missing gaps. And I think the one thing I had to start, I had to slow down and like go back to some of the old school things, because like Sundays, we would go to her parents' house and have dinner. And I had to adjust to that because I wasn't used to that. I'm used to my Sundays. I'm in the gym, I go to church, and then after that, I get my bike and we're out. But after we got married, that became the norm. And a lot of the old school island traditions, a lot of old school country traditions, I think we got to go back to some of it. Now, beating your kid with a switch, with that big, thick belt.
Yeah,
I remember my grandma had a lap. My grandma Bahamian. She had a lap at the front door. She made you go get your own switch and you put it on top of that lamp so it could get crispy.
My grandma.
Don't think you going home.
I said, go outside and pick your own switch, baby.
Let me tell you guys, that will lead to a child protective case. I'm gonna tell you right
These
now.
days,
you go to school limping with a little bit of pain, and you tell a teacher my butt hurt because my mama, and they say, let me see. Child protective.
She said, you died at 9 and 1, and I died at 1. I died the last one.
I know that. No. Let me call them so they can come get you. I need a break.
You go outside. What she tell you? You go outside and pick your own switch. I come out with a little smile. See, I got something for you.
And that's what I'm here to teach you, how to do some different parenting styles so that child protective services don't come to your home, okay? Because that will lead to that.
So I hate to cut it short because Areeba does have another engagement. Okay. So I don't wanna disrespect her time, right. But she does have another engagement. Appreciate so thank you for being here. We love you anytime. But what I do want to say, there are rules. Him and his audience, bro. There are rules of life. Number 1, smile. It always works out in the end. Number 2, be kind. You have the power to make people feel good. Number 3, don't give up. If it doesn't work if it doesn't work the first time, find another way. Number 4, don't compare. Everyone is on a different journey. Number 5, avoid negativity, negative thoughts, situations, and people. Number 6, make peace with your past. Focus on being present and creating a better future. Number 7, take care of your body and mind. One struggles to survive without the other. So I want to thank everybody. Just follow the 7 rules. Choose happiness over anything. Anybody that compromise my happiness and my mental health, I am going to be honest. I have just learned to delete them in a minute. That delete and block is a quick thing for me. It's on speed.
That's why I couldn't get to you this week.
Bruh. I unblock you only on Thursday.
I appreciate that.
So yes, happiness is the key. You know, you got to choose yourself over people. Sometimes you find people that you love and they don't love you as much. Guess what? That person may not know how to love, but just know that may not be the person you should be loving anyway. So I want to tell you thank you for watching, for tuning in. Calvin, we're saying a prayer for you. Next week is Matt Genius. He's a family therapist. He's also a kids author. He wrote a kids book. So we're looking forward to having Matt next week. Mr. Hickman,
that's gonna be an intense conversation.
DJ Ben, you taught him how to use these sound effect buttons, and I'm over it with him. So we want to say thank you and good night.